Cannabis Common Sense, the show that tells the truth about marijuana and the politics behind its prohibition.
Hello and welcome to another exciting edition of Cannabis Common Sense. It is March 18th, 2011, and boy, do we have a lot of news for you tonight. We also have Mr. Tim Pate along with Henrik Rhodes standing by. Howdy, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Hello, they're going to play music and more, so stay tuned for that. We have a detailed hemp news segment for you tonight. We also have film clips we'll be showing and taking your calls, so stand by as we bring on our infamous Dancing Cannabis Leaves.
I feel the force.
Okay, we're in our hemp news segment with news about cannabis from all around the country. Our first story tonight is from Providence, Rhode Island. Rhode Island representatives of the State Department of Health on Tuesday selected applicants to operate 3 separate medical dispensaries to sell medical marijuana to patients. Rhode Island lawmakers in 2009 voted 102-3 in favor of allowing the state to license a limited number of medical marijuana facilities. The lopsided vote overrode a veto by the former Republican governor, Donald Carcieri. The selected applicants have proposed establishing medical cannabis dispensaries in the cities of Portsmouth, Providence, and Warwick. After a thorough and thoughtful review of all applicants, we determined that these 3 applicants were best able to offer safe, conveniently located options for patients currently enrolled in the medical marijuana program. Said a statement from the interim director of Rhode Island's Health Department, Michael Fine. He said, quote, "We will continue to work with compassion centers and providers to assure good outcomes for patients," end quote. Approximately 3,300 patients are qualified to use marijuana legally in Rhode Island. To date, only Colorado and New Mexico have established state-licensed medical cannabis dispensaries. Regulators in Arizona, Maine, and Washington, D.C. are in the process of licensing such establishments. For more information about the Rhode Island Medical Marijuana Program, go to RIPATIENTS.org. That's Rhode Island Patients, RIPATIENTS.org for more information. Our next story is from the USA Today, written by John Adams. From Great Falls, Montana, federal agencies conducted 26 raids on medical marijuana facilities in 13 Montana cities this week as agents seized thousands of marijuana plants and froze about $4 million in bank funds. The raid stunned medical marijuana advocates, many of whom believe that President Obama's administration's policy was to leave states with medical marijuana laws alone. That belief stemmed from Attorney General Eric Holder's announcement in October 2009 that the pursuit of, quote, individuals whose actions are in clear and unambiguous compliance with existing state medical marijuana laws would be the lowest priority of U.S. law enforcement. According to a statement from Ethan Nadelman, the executive director of the New York-based Drug Policy Alliance, he said, quote, "I think most everybody believed the directive from the Justice Department was no priority would be given to utilizing Justice Department resources in going after medical marijuana operations if local authorities believe they're operating legally under state law," end quote. Montana's U.S. Attorney Michael Cotter said there was, quote, "probable cause that the premises were involved in illegal and large-scale trafficking of marijuana. When criminal networks violate federal laws, those involved will be prosecuted," end quote, the U.S. Attorney for Montana said. While 15 states have legalized some form of medical marijuana use, the federal government still considers marijuana or cannabis an illegal controlled substance with a high potential for abuse and no accepted medical use. That's our federal government's policy. Seems like a lie. but that's what they say. So one of these days, maybe science will take hold with the federal government. That's what I thought President Obama said he was going to do. Our next story is from yesterday, March 17th, out of Santa Fe, New Mexico. New Mexico lawmakers withdrawn legislation that sought to repeal the state's 4-year-old medical marijuana law. Newly elected Republican Governor Susana Martinez said that she would have signed the measure, House Bill 593, had it reached her desk. The bill's sponsor, Republican Representative James Smith, is now proposing a House memorial bill that calls on lawmakers to study the state's medical cannabis program. Presently, in New Mexico, over 3,200 patients are using cannabis legally in compliance with state law. In addition, state officials have licensed some 25 facilities to produce or dispense medical cannabis. To date, reports of abuse regarding the use or distribution of medical marijuana as authorized by the New Mexico law has been minimal. In Montana, members of the Montana Senate Judicial Committee on Monday deadlocked 6-6 regarding a similar measure, House Bill 161, which sought to repeal Montana's 6-year-old voter-approved medical marijuana law. Montana's House of Representatives had previously voted, largely along party lines, 63-37, in favor of the repeal of the medical marijuana law. Montana's state senators may still elect to reconsider the measure, or they may call for a blast motion, which is a procedure that allows measures to bypass committee and be debated by the full chamber. According to the public policy polling survey last month of 2,212 Montanans, 63% of the residents and respondents support allowing patients to have the freedom to use marijuana for medical purposes with their doctor's approval. Only 20% of the respondents said they thought the law should be repealed entirely. Also on Monday, federal law enforcement officials raided several Montana medical marijuana greenhouses and dispensaries and providers. Law enforcement officers confiscated various items of property, including marijuana, cash, and growing equipment, but failed to make any immediate arrests. The raids marked the first large-scale federal crackdown in the state of Montana since the voters approved the medical marijuana law back in 2004. New Mexico and Montana are among the 15 states that presently recognize the physician-supervised use of cannabis. To date, no state or legislature has repealed such a law. Our next story is from Seattle by Molly Roshbach of the Associated Press and published in the Seattle Times out of Olympia, Washington. Marijuana would be decriminalized and regulated to end the unnecessary violence spawned by the U.S. drug trade in the United States and Mexico, a former U.S. attorney from Seattle said today. John McKay, a former U.S. attorney out of Washington, was part of a panel of officials invited by Washington State Representative Mary Lou Dickerson, a Democrat from Seattle, to speak at a news conference aimed Wednesday at drumming up support for her marijuana legalization bill. McKay directed federal prosecutions in Western Washington from 2001 to 2006, when the Bush administration fired him. McKay said, quote, "Prohibition has failed and frankly has failed for over 80 years. That means we have to have a different approach to the fact that 14 million Americans choose to smoke marijuana in the face of federal prison," end quote. Dickerson's bill seeks to have the Washington State Liquor Control Board sell and regulate cannabis and would make marijuana possession legal for adults over 21. It's being reviewed by the House Ways and Means Committee after being tabled by another House committee last month. Supporters say the bill could raise $440 million in tax revenue per biennium, much needed money in the face of a $5 billion deficit over the next 2 years, or almost 10% of that. Dickerson wants to build momentum for the bill ahead of Thursday's revenue forecast, which some predict could show the deficit to be around $500 million greater than previously thought. According to Dickerson, quote, "In these trying times, $440 million of new revenue should definitely be of interest to the legislature," end quote. The bill lays out where that revenue will go. 75% is dedicated to health care in Washington State, 20% to substance abuse prevention and intervention, and 5% to the Liquor Control Board and the Department of Agriculture, cities and counties. A measure approved by the Senate would move medical marijuana out of the legal gray zone in Washington State. It's technically legal for a medical marijuana patient to possess cannabis, but the proper ways of getting cannabis can be unclear. According to Representative DeBolt, quote, once we tackle this over the next couple of years, then you can have a true debate. But right now, we don't truly understand this law. McKay said he supports Dickerson's bill, but warned not to expect huge revenues other backers are anticipating. He said heavy taxes on cannabis will only drive it back underground, where it's cheaper and easier to buy. McKay said he instead supports regulation and decriminalization to end the violent U.S. drug trade centered on the Mexican border. He and Dickerson said states will have to lead the charge in decriminalizing cannabis in the United States. Former U.S. Attorney for Washington State John McKay said, quote, it's going to take Washington State to literally stick its neck out so we can finally repeal this insane policy of prohibition. Speculation abounded after McKay was dismissed from his federal prosecutor position. A later investigation by the U.S. Justice Department concluded that the firing of McKay and 8 other U.S. attorneys was improperly political, though not criminal. Also on Wednesday, a news conference where Seattle City Councilman Tim Burgess and Seattle City Attorney Pete Holmes and Joni Emery, the wife of Mark Emery, the Prince of Pot, whom McKay prosecuted in 2005 for selling marijuana seeds. This is a story we took out of the Seattle Times, written by Marty Rossbach of the Associated Press and printed on Wednesday, March 16th. Our next story is similar and also from the Associated Press, out of Providence, Rhode Island. Rhode Island became the first U.S. state to legalize marijuana for recreational use under legislation that would replace criminal penalties for possession with alcohol-style regulation and taxes on America's most widely used illicit drug. The proposal would lift the ban on possessing marijuana for anyone over the age of 21. It would still be illegal to smoke it publicly or drive while intoxicated. Cash-strapped Rhode Island, which legalized medical marijuana in 2006, would stand to make tens of millions of dollars off the deal. The Rhode Island legislation would allow individuals to grow up to 3 marijuana plants, but only if they paid $100 per plant. Wholesalers would have to pay a $50 per ounce excise tax, and retail licenses would cost $5,000 annually, and all the retail marijuana sales would be subject to sales tax. According to Rhode Island Representative Edith Agello of Providence, a Democrat, quote, it would do wonders to improve our budget situation. And she's one of 5 Rhode Island lawmakers sponsoring the bill. Retired police officers and several Rhode Island residents told lawmakers that the long-standing prohibitions on cannabis failed to reduce its availability. Tight government regulation and taxes, they said, would recognize that cannabis is here to stay and raise some revenue in the process. According to Jack Cole, a retired narcotics detective from New Jersey and leader of a group of retired law enforcement officers who support legalization, he said, quote, this will allow police to return to tracking down violent criminals. Prohibition has not worked, end quote. Our next story tonight is from right here in River City, from the Oregonian, written by Harry Esteve, and it was published Thursday, the 17th of March, 2011. Legislatures got a near full Wednesday from medical marijuana advocates who condemned a proposal to greatly restrict who can legally use cannabis to combat illnesses. It's the second time in recent weeks that the issue's come up, as some lawmakers have made it clear they think too many people are scamming the medical marijuana law that allows the use of cannabis to treat some diseases and symptoms. According to Senator Jeff Cruz, a Republican from Roseburg and sponsors of one of the bills targeting medical marijuana laws, he said, quote, I personally think the program's out of control. I know people who just find it a legal way to smoke pot, end quote. The opponents called his proposal heartless and said it would subject cancer patients and other sick people who rely on cannabis to arrest and imprisonment. That is the end of our Hemp News segment tonight. We're going to jump over and talk to Mr. Tim Pate and Henrik Road. How are you guys?
I'm good.
We're doing good.
That was a lot of news.
There was a lot of news tonight.
It was spread out all over the country,
more than
too.
a dozen minutes.
That's true. That's true. You know, it doesn't surprise me that we have a lot of news. There's a lot of.
Well, we were off last week, so we had a little back up there.
Have to double up on the news, eh?
Yeah.
All right. Well, tonight I have a man, Henrik Rhodes, with me, And,
Good evening.
He has been working with the THCF clinic for a long time.
Well, that's right. As you know, my job at the THCF is to bring the doctors out to the frontier, out to those towns and villages where they've never seen a medical marijuana doctor.
And you've been doing this for quite a while.
A few years.
And you've written some music about it.
I wrote a song about it. It's called Road Work.
Well, you want to do that now?
Sure.
Okay.
You see, the other day I was passing through Yakima.
Mm-hmm.
It was Monday. We picked up Dr. Orval. It was Tuesday. In Grants Pass we arrived. It was Wednesday. We made 40 people legal. And on Thursday we rode north through Portland on I-5, and we got miles to the next clinic. We've got miles to the next town. Gotta make sure the doctor's got a nice room. And this road work ain't never gonna wear us down. 'Cause on Monday 50 patients up in Spokane, and on Tuesday we'll see 51. And on Wednesday and Thursday we'll be down in Tri-Cities, and on Friday back to Bellevue, Washington. And then it's Bellingham and Olympia and Port Angeles. And we've got miles to the next clinic. We've got miles and miles to the next town. Gotta make sure the gas tank's been topped off. And the nurses at her station, we've confirmed our reservations, and the volunteers have been called, and the forms have all been filled out. We know which rest stops have the finest porcelain. We know which counties have the meanest cots. Which hotels give you waffles for your breakfast. And this road work ain't never gonna stop, because on Monday we fly into Missoula. Tuesday, Wednesday we're in Detroit, Michigan. And on Thursday we wing it back west to Honolulu. Then it's Hilo and Kapa'a, and then back to Oregon. And we've got miles, we got frequent flyer miles. We got miles to fly to the next town. Gotta make sure the doctor's got a nice room. And this road work ain't never gonna wear us down, because we are the Hemp and Cannabis Foundation. And we hope we're coming somewhere near your town. You can help us find a doctor a nice room. We'll fly miles, we'll drive miles, we'll go miles and 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 miles to the next clinic. We'll go miles and miles and miles and miles and miles to the next town. Got to find a doctor a nice room. And this road work in Albuquerque and Wenatchee and Alpena and Ann Arbor and in Ashland and in Portland and in Southfield and in Bend, in Bellevue and in Riverside and Roseburg and Reno and Durango and Detroit and Denver, San Francisco, Gila and Helena, Houghton Lake and Honolulu, Kalamazoo, Kennewick and Cadillac and Kauai, Kapa'a and Missoula and Olympia and Tacoma and in Saginaw, Spokane and Pendleton and Bozeman, Eugene, Sheboygan, Lansing and Grand Rapids and Grand Junction and Grants Pass and Glenwood Springs and Colorado Springs and Mount Pleasant, Traverse City and Bay City and Las Vegas and Port Angeles and Flint.
All right.
Now, I don't claim to be a singer, but I love writing stories.
That was good.
Thank you.
That was pretty darn good. Well, I'd like to have you, if you're out there, you have a question for us tonight, you can give us a call. We'll be taking your phone calls at 503-288-4448. That's 503-288-4448. And now that Tim Pate's managed to jump back over here.
I have.
Welcome, Kathy. There's Kathy Johnson. You're the manager of our Spokane office.
Hi, Paul. Thank you. Thank
Hey,
you for
how you
having
doing?
me on the
Kathy.
show.
I'm glad you wanted to come on the show tonight.
Yeah, I sure do. Well, I'm so excited to have a full-time office open in Spokane now. After many years, we've been holding clinics in the Spokane area for over 5 years, as you know.
Yeah.
And we finally have our full-time office, and I'm just so proud to be representing that office. And
You're doing a great job.
well, thank you, thank you. I'm
Well, tell us about the scene in Spokane. What is it like there now?
Well,
It's really burgeoned recently, right? It's gone from like 1 or 2 dispensaries to 40 or
actually,
something now.
they're between 40 and 60 have
Wow.
popped up around the city over the recent months.
We're talking about access points.
Access points,
Right.
dispensaries, if you will, businesses that have opened up to go and actually purchase your
That's more than we
medicine.
have here in Portland.
Oh, yeah.
So on that front, it's pretty exciting. You know.
How many people are in Spokane altogether? What's the population there?
Well,
Approximately.
gosh.
I put you on the spot here.
Yeah, you did. I
think it's like 200,000, right?
I
Something
think
right
you're
around there.
Right around there. You're
pretty good-sized
close.
town.
It's growing.
You know what,
too.
Kathy? We take viewer phone calls, and we have a caller who's been patiently waiting, so I'm going to go ahead and take that call. Welcome to the show, caller. You're caller number 1.
We're on the air.
Hello, caller.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes,
We can hear you now.
Sounds like an advertisement for cell phones.
It's a big studio here.
Exactly. I was wondering about the being able to get in the cannabis card and everything. My husband had surgery and everything, and his doctor refuses to sign the card and everything.
So all you have to do is have your medical records given to a specialist who, and there are a number of specialists who can recommend medical marijuana. We have a referral system for doctors all over the country. As the guy who Henrik wrote, who was saying in that song, all those different cities and then some. So if you'd like to get more information about that, if you're here in the Portland area, you can call us at 503-235-4606. Real good job there in the character graphics generator. They switch that quick. It's here in Portland again, 503-235-4606. If you're outside of the Portland area, anywhere else in the United States, you can call us at that number, 1-800-723-0188. That's 1-800-723-0188. And there are doctors, there's voicemail there. They'll be calling you back no later than Monday.
Okay, wonderful.
And basically, you just got to get your medical records over to one of these doctors, and then they can help you get that permit.
Okay, great. Yeah, because he got his records and everything, and the doctor says, "Well, I don't know about that." And I'm like, "That's the only thing that seems to be helping."
Well, if you have any of these conditions, the largest one being chronic pain, next largest being nausea, and then any of those others, AIDS, glaucoma, gastrointestinal ailments like IBS, Crohn's disease, and GERD, neurodegenerative diseases like multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, Lou Gehrig's disease, and others, Alzheimer's, or hepatitis C with pain or nausea associated with that, or cancer. Any of those and some more, cachexia or wasting syndrome qualify for medical marijuana under most state law.
Yeah, he's just in so much pain, and he can't sleep sometimes because of it.
Well, it depends on the diagnosis in the records in terms of whether one of these specialist doctors will accept that or they might require some more tests. But
Okay, yeah,
they'll let you know.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Again, if you're interested in that, you can call that number nationwide, 1-800-723-0188. And we're streaming nationwide through Ustream.tv. If you're out there anywhere around the world watching, and you can Skype in or call in, call us at 503-288-4448. That's 503-288-4448. And we'll be taking your calls right up to the top of the hour. So Tim, how have you been doing for a couple weeks? I know you've been busy preparing the Hempstock Festival and the big Toots and the Maytall benefits that are coming up for Hempstock and our OCTA petition. You want to tell our audience about those?
Well, you know, we have a lot of things going on, as
We
you
do.
know.
We do. And more.
And more
Every
and
day.
more. It's really actually a rather exciting time right now for Hempstock. We have a lot of plans. I know the committees have all been meeting on a regular basis, month by month, and we keep building momentum towards a good show in September. We're still looking at the contest on Facebook right now has 38 bands, and we have picked up nearly a couple of thousand new friends just in the last month on Facebook because of the competition. So if you know of a band who would like to play Hempstock, tell them to go to our webpage, hempstock.org, and you can find the competition. You can get enrolled in it, and you can get all your friends to come on, and the winner who has the most likes and you guys get to choose, not us, you get to choose, gets $1,000 and a chance to play on our stage this fall. And so that's Hempstock right now. Now, we've got other things going on as well. In fact, we are going to be putting on a Toots and the Maytals concert at Washington Park Rose Garden Amphitheater, and it'll be the first concert they've had there in 12 years.
Last one being
Ziggy Marley.
Ziggy Marley.
So we're
another
bringing reggae back to the
I saw
garden.
Jimmy Cliff and the Neville Brothers there back, obviously more than 12 years
That'd
ago.
have been wonderful. I've seen Jimmy Cliff too, and
Those
the
were
Neville
separate
Brothers.
shows, too.
I've seen both those. Oh, good shows. Good shows. So we've got 3 shows coming up. Those one of those is on July the 2nd. With Toots and the Maytals. John Trudell will be playing. Rhythm Culture will be there. The Tonic Crew from Jamaica will be involved. And so we've got a really great lineup. July 2nd at the Lane County Event Center Performance Hall. And then on the 3rd, we will be at the Rodeo Arena at the Deschutes County Fairgrounds over in Redmond, Oregon.
Just outside of Bend?
Just outside of Bend, between them, almost, but closer to Redmond than Bend. And then on the 4th of July, we will actually be up at the Rose Garden. So I'm very excited about that lineup.
That's the Washington Park
Rose Garden.
International Rose Test Garden.
Yes, it
is.
It's
got this long name.
It does. It's a hard one.
It's a beautiful location. So we're proud to be putting on the first show there in a dozen years.
When I stood up and took a look out over this event, the area that we want to have this concert at, you can see immediately lined up over us is Mount Rainier in the background. I mean, not Mount Rainier, Mount Hood in the background. And then thinking that as the show ends on the 4th of July around 10 o'clock,
you'll be able to watch
the
fireworks right down there
all
on the
waterfront. Fireworks all over the city. Yeah. So, I mean, it's really quite a location. I'm very excited about it.
It's exciting to have Toots. He's the grandfather of reggae. He came up with the term reggae back in the 60s with his first big hit back when he was a teenager called Do the Reggae. But anyway, I have some text here that indicates that we have people online typing into the chat box from Germany and Washington, D.C. and around the country. And one person asked if we know the progress on Maryland's medical marijuana law and says their folks are in dire need. In Maryland, they have an affirmative defense that a patient can raise if they've been arrested. Unfortunately, the problem with the affirmative defense is that you have to be arrested to take advantage of it. So they're still working on expanding that, but to date, I can't really update you on that right now. We do have another caller, though. Welcome to our show, caller.
Hi there. How are you?
Good. Very well. How are you?
Great. I have a question, a couple questions for you.
Okay.
With the economy the way it is, I mean, a lot of people are destitute, and health insurance is very expensive.
Yes.
Like in my situation, I'm a single mother. I can't even afford the medication that if I could afford to go to the doctor, that the doctor would want to give for me. Yep. Is there anything that any funds available out there, any kind of programs available out there for people like me who can't even get into the doctor to be able to get the
It's very,
paperwork?
very difficult. There are some programs like the Multnomah County Health Department. They provide some free medical services. There are some groups like Outside In that allow people to come in on a sliding scale. I know at our clinics here in Portland, we have a list of low-cost medical providers that we give out, and those are the only ones that come to mind right now. But it really is a problem. The price of health care is prohibitive, and a good portion of our population can't participate and get any sort of health care. And that's the problem. I was real hopeful that the United States Congress would fix that, and I guess they improved it slightly. But I am a true believer in a single-payer system myself. I think that we should have a full option instead of wasting our money on so many different insurance systems. But you know what? They never check with me when they're doing this stuff,
No, I know. They skip me over, too.
When I lived in Eugene, I had the privilege of serving with an organization called Whitebird Clinic, and we had 28 departments. 6 of them were medical clinics, and we had a free medical clinic and a low income and a sliding scale, and one for homeless and one for general public. And I don't know anything like that exists here in Portland, and it's a shame because people like you fall through the cracks, and you still need medical care. There's, you still have the need. And
well, I'm a working mother, and I just got my insurance raised, raising 3 children by myself, to $156 a month.
Right.
For just myself. How can someone afford that, barely making $10 an hour?
Right.
You can't.
And,
you can't.
You know,
it really sucks.
So going to one of these clinics, would I be able to retrieve enough information for someone at your guys' clinic?
I think so. I wouldn't, let them know that was an objective. I'd be looking more into your condition, but seeing what kind of diagnosis they come up with, and then that's the real thing that we need.
Yeah, and you want to know too. If you haven't been to a doctor in a while,
it's soft tissue, which is difficult with just one doctor's visit. So, okay, well, thank you guys. You helped me out so very much.
Good luck. Yeah.
Okay,
really
have
glad
a great
to help.
evening. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Yeah, that's all too often the case. We spend more money in the United States per capita than any other country on health care, but a good quarter to a third of our population isn't even covered at all.
I spent an hour in emergency room 3 weeks ago, and it was a $1,000 bill, just like that.
Yeah, that's pretty cheap for an emergency.
I know.
Room,
really.
Well, we have a little film clip we're going to run right now. We'll be back in just a moment to talk more with Kathy Johnson from THCF Medical Clinic's Spokane office, and to take some more phone calls and go through our show and tell and more. So stay tuned. Here comes that clip.
Uneasy rests the crown on he who would save the world. Jack enters the new millennium, still grieving over the untimely death of Captain Ed Adair, taken by leukemia in 1991 at the age of 51.
We have been together 19 years, the greatest friend a guy could ever have. He worked so hard to save this planet, and he believed he was saving it for you, me, his children, and he thought that this was the way to do it.
And it's against the law, the federal law, and it's a stupid law, it's an ignorant law, and it's an evil law, because they know better, and they won't get off of it.
Captain Ed and I planned was to get out and teach this information. Eventually we would get a cadre of believers, and eventually they would go out and teach the world. And now we know that we've succeeded.
And now we understand so much about the man. He's not insane, he is not crazy. He's not the devil in disguise. So listen closely to the winds of change and see the world, see the world, oh, see the world through his eyes.
Despite some health problems, Jack has no plans to kick back and take it easy with longtime companion Jeannie Hawkins. With the publishing of the 11th edition of The Emperor Wears No Clothes in late 1998, Jack's schedule is more hectic than ever, taking him and his message around the world. Jack is haunted, however, by the hard, cold facts of prohibition. Despite its undeniable potential as the natural, renewable alternative to a synthetic world, the hemp plant, by federal law, still cannot be cultivated in the United States. Despite increasing public and scientific support, the medical use of marijuana still remains illegal. And despite the enormous cost in money and human lives, millions of people are still being arrested for possessing a therapeutic substance revered by our ancestors. This is the reality of America's war on a plant. A war born of commerce and greed. An endless war. And so, the fight goes on. And on.
Just ask him.
All right. That was an excerpt, very in, and the war goes on, the battle continues, and we will prevail.
We will.
Like to announce. We have a phone call, though. Welcome to our show, caller.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Howdy.
I'm wondering if you could talk about a couple of states, if you you could maybe update us about what's happening in Arizona, but more interestingly, what's happening in the talk about Washington in their state legislature, talking about perhaps maybe trying to legalize for their tax rolls.
Yeah, we had a couple of stories at the top of the hour talking about Washington Representative Mary Lou Dickerson's bill to legalize marijuana and sell it and bring in, according to her, $440 million per biennium, or about a tenth of the current projected state budget deficit in revenue. And she had former United States Attorney for the state of Washington, John McKay, come to the legislature and speak in favor of that bill this week. In Washington state, there's also a bill to revise the state's medical marijuana law. At first, it started out as a real good bill. Unfortunately, it passed the state Senate in good order, but once it got to the state House, law enforcement have been able to amend the version there so that it is a sad shadow of its former self and would severely restrict Washington's medical marijuana system. So hopefully either that bill in its current revised form, which would hurt medical marijuana patients, would be revised. But those two bills are moving forward in the Washington legislature. Arizona passed a medical marijuana law back in November, and they're in the process of preparing to implement a statewide registry program through the health department and to license 125 dispensaries across the state of Arizona. And so there's a gold rush fever going on among 1,000 different potential applicants to apply for those 125 dispensary licenses that the state health department will begin entertaining sometime later this year. But in late April, they're supposed to start the registry program and issue forms and start taking funds from patients to register them. But clinics such as ours and others have already started seeing patients in the state of Arizona to help them get their state's medical marijuana permit.
Excellent. And are the qualifications in Arizona the same as
yes,
in Oregon?
Yes, they're pretty much the same as it is here in Oregon.
Great. Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Are they going to be reciprocal?
Yeah, Arizona has reciprocity. Arizona becomes the fifth state to recognize other states' medical marijuana permits. So now the states that recognize other state permits are Michigan, Montana, Maine, Rhode Island, and Arizona. If you have a medical marijuana permit from any other state, you're covered in what I call the three medical marijuana M states: Michigan, Montana, Maine, Rhode Island, and Arizona.
So those would be good states to vacation in, wouldn't they?
They would be.
There you go.
So hope that answers some questions out there. You know, we'd like to take just a moment here to memorialize an old friend of ours who passed on just a couple of weeks ago. We know him as Bobby B, and he was the originator of the...
There he is right there.
There's a picture of him, of the strain Selwood Thunder, which had another appellation I won't use here on the air. But Bobby was an inspiration for all of us and a always positive inspiration that was in our community, and he recently lost a fight with cancer. And we'd also like to reach out to Wisconsin activist Ben Mazzell, who's just been diagnosed with 4th-stage lung cancer himself. There's Bobby B with...
that's Snoop Dogg in the
looks
middle.
like Snoop Dogg, yeah, and somebody else there. So, yeah, Bobby B, we miss you, bro.
Yeah, we do.
Now, hey, there he is.
And there he is with the Cannabis.
All right. And he was always at the marches every year for the past 11 years, marching for marijuana freedom, the annual May parade that Oregon Normal's been organizing.
A really nice guy and a friend to all of us. So he's really going to be missed.
Yeah, definitely. He is missed. But we are taking your phone calls tonight. If you have a message for us, call us at 503-288-4448. We have another caller standing by. Welcome to our show.
Hi, my name is Dennis, and I got a problem. I'm a card holder, and for the last couple of years, my doctor has been giving me my medication. Everything was okay, but now when my card expires this next time, I got to make a choice. Either I take the medication or I take, my other medication. But with them both
So you're
together,
on a pain contract.
well, with both together, that's what makes everything work.
Right.
Yes.
So I would recommend looking at other sources. I don't know what your coverage is. I know OHSU will allow patients
I got
now.
Carroll, Oregon, and it's the same place that takes our money for our cards.
Right.
And I don't know if they're saying, that you got to make a choice now.
Uh-huh.
So
You might talk to the folks at Oregon Health Sciences University. I understand they don't preclude patients from having medical marijuana permits and accessing other types of medical care.
So what do I do?
See if you can transfer your care over. Well, first of all, check with them and see if you can transfer your care and explain the situation.
Okay. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. Thanks for your call. Good luck. I know that's a stressful situation to be
Yeah,
in.
it is to be shopping for different doctors, especially when you're ill. That is going to be stressful always.
So, Kathy, you wanted to talk about what's been going on in Spokane
Yeah,
here?
you have some news.
I do. I have some good news. I'm proud to have the opportunity to announce that the Hemp and Cannabis Foundation has joined the Chamber of Commerce, the Spokane Chamber of Commerce.
That's cool.
Not our first Chamber of Commerce.
Well, the grants pass.
Yeah.
But for Spokane.
That's great.
So, and I believe that we're the first cannabis organization to join the Chamber of Commerce of any major American city. So,
yeah.
So I'm really excited about that. Through that, we had the opportunity to attend the Spokane City Mayor Mary Verner's State of the City address. It was an honor to represent the Hemp and Cannabis Foundation at that event.
That's great.
I also attended a conference on the future of healthcare in Spokane. I met some interesting people there and got some interesting responses there. And one of those is one of the people in attendance at that event was actually oversees many medical clinics throughout Spokane. And I was surprised to find out that he was totally unaware that there was any other way to consume, or that medical marijuana patients were consuming cannabis other than smoking.
Oh, really? Like vaporization,
He'd never heard of
tinctures, and
cannabis
edibles?
therapy. The capsule therapies, edibles, tinctures, of course, and that kind of surprised me. So it was nice to be able to kind of educate him in that area. And so I'm looking forward to the year we have.
You've been doing a great job there in the Spokane office. When did we open that?
In August.
In August.
Yes.
So have about 7 months or so.
Exactly. So through the Chamber of Commerce, I'm going to look forward to attending different events such as trade shows, things like
Exactly.
that. And it'll be an honor to be able to
I
do
grew up in
things like
Tulsa,
that.
Oklahoma, and the Chamber of Commerce has their national headquarters in Tulsa. And I grew up understanding that organization and its typical outreach across the country. And I'm really glad to see you've taken this to a mainstream level, because that is a very mainstream organization. Very very conservative in its business approach. And but this is a business. What you're doing helps a lot of people, and and there are probably quite a few conservatives out there who smoke marijuana because they need the medicine. So
exactly.
It crosses political lines when you really think about it. Everybody has pain. Everybody gets sick. Everybody has a disease. Of one kind or another. So, let us know when you head off to Tulsa for the national.
Yeah, exactly. For now, though, it's just an honor to be a part of that.
Oh yeah.
We have another caller standing by. Welcome to the show, caller.
Hello, my name is Rich, and
Hi, Rich.
my question was: I have a medical marijuana card. I had one for about 10 years. I was shot in the head back in 1999.
Gosh.
And my question is: I heard that I have a couple felonies. I got them a while back, been years, 5 years plus. But I heard that they're trying to pass it that felons aren't going to be able to have their cards. And I don't know how they can say that felons don't have pain.
Right. Well, that's outrageous, and I don't think that will go anywhere. There was pretty solid opposition in a hearing earlier this week. We covered that briefly and read an excerpt of a story from the Oregonian by writer Harry Estive. But yeah, that's outrageous. I'm hopeful that what we need to do, wherever you're at in the United States, if you have a medical marijuana law, you need to contact your state legislators right now and tell them that you support medical marijuana and don't want to see it restricted and want to see safe access established for medical patients to be able to legally obtain their medicine. And regardless of who you are, where you are watching, contact the legislators in the state assemblies and congresses and tell them that you support the medical marijuana law and that the state legislatures should keep their hands off of it.
Yeah. Now, in this state here, just recently, like Paul was referring to, we've had several attempts by the state legislatures, and usually they're sophomore or freshman legislators who come in, Republicans from out in the boondocks or somewhere, who think that they have a handle on what the rest of the population needs, and so they put forth bills that really have no basis. In fact, they're spurious. I mean, they're specious. You can see, wait, where in the world did they get any idea, how to put this together? Because obviously they didn't talk to any of the patients. They didn't talk to anybody involved in any of the programs. It sounds like maybe they were talking to law enforcement, and that may have been the extent of their conversation. And so the cannabis community was really strong in its opposition to all of these bills that got put forth, and we have some friends in the legislature as well. And so Senator Floyd Przansky, who is the head of the Judiciary Committee, chairs that committee, has promised that any of those bills that go before his committee will be tabled. He realizes the importance of this program and has promised us that. So far, we've had that in our favor, but we always have to be vigilant. These things pop up on a regular basis, and like the one you referred to when you first called. But I think that's going to be tabled. That's our hope.
Wonderful. Right. I want to thank you guys also for everything that you guys do. You guys are wonderful.
Thank you. Thanks for your support. We appreciate it. We are just in the process of getting our certified ballot title. We have that now on our bill to completely legalize the sale of marijuana, and we're adding a couple more chief petitioners to the list. I'm one, and we'll have our TV show producer, William Appel, and a nurse practitioner out of Roseburg, Phil Allen, on as chief petitioners, and we expect to launch our petition drive sometime before the end of this month. So we'll be having a rally, and we'll be talking about that more next week, try to gather people together and have a big press conference to kick off the petition drive to completely legalize marijuana and restore industrial hemp. We have a few items for show and tell here tonight. I'm going to get camera 2 slowly but surely come in here. Here is what I have long referred people to in terms of the best book out there on cultivating cannabis, with step-by-step instructions and color leaf guides on how to detect deficiencies. And I just highly recommend Jorge Cervantes' Marijuana Horticulture, the indoor-outdoor medical grower's Bible. And so Jorge was on our show back in December, and we hope to have him back again soon. So we recommend this book, and want to thank one of our studio audience members for bringing several nifty publications. This is Spit in the Ocean, a magazine out of Pleasant Hill, Oregon. I think this is from back in the 60s, way back when, and it's a pretty nifty publication. Then we have a couple more publications from back in the 60s. This is The Growing Extraordinary Marijuana Book by Adam Gottlieb. This was actually copyrighted in 1975. One of the early publications on how to grow marijuana. We've had the real pioneer, Bill Drake, on here, who had Marijuana Cultivator's Guide. And this is the Marijuana Connoisseur and Dealer's Guide, also from, written by Mary Jane Superweed. Mary Jane Superweed. This is from 1968 and was published down in California. So
I wonder if that was her real name.
I don't think so. But anyway, right next to it, from the 1880s, There we go. We have a old medical marijuana apothecary container. This is was what they put cannabis extract in. They call this LUG, label under glass. And we have a little assortment of these. You can see this one's gotten a little worn, but it was tincture of cannabis. And so this was something you'd find on the druggist's wall. Then right next to it, we have tincture of cannabis sativa from, it's a wholesale and distributors out of Cedar Rapids, Iowa. So there is that. I don't know if we can close in on it any tighter than that, but can't really see it too well. But this one is another extract, powdered extract of cannabis. This was powdered hashish, is what came in this. This was from the Merrill Company, and it was physiologically standardized. It was powdered extract of cannabis indica. And it says right here on the back, 1 ounce. So this would have an ounce of hashish. Now this was for horses and cattle, and it was alcohol, chloral hydrate, and cannabis indica. And it's anti-colic medicine for your horses and your cattle.
There you go.
And then there are a lot of, we have about 25 old antique veterinary medicines in our collection. And this is hemp seed nut. These are shelled hemp seeds. This is a product that tastes like a cross between walnuts and cashews. It's tastes good. It's very healthy for you. It has all the essential fatty acids, the omega-3 and 6 EFAs that you need, and you can do just astounding stuff with this. It tastes good too. So that is the end of our little show and tell segment for tonight. We are down with just about 6.5 minutes left. Just time to take another phone call. Welcome to the show, caller.
Hello.
Hello.
Howdy.
There you are.
Oh my God. Hey guys, how you doing?
Good.
We're doing well.
Hey, second time calling and appreciate every show you got. But I got a couple of friends around that like to see your show, and one's in Milwaukee, and he's watching digital, the 700 channels, you know, and one in Vancouver. And I was wondering if you're showing the show out there.
Yeah, it's on the internet at Ustream TV.
See,
it streams live on Ustream TV, and we got a couple questions and viewers around the world watching it. If you go to Ustream, and that's the letter U, STREAM, like will pop up there on the screen in just a second, ustream.tv/cannabis-common-sense, and that'll get you directly to it. And so you can watch it anywhere in the world live. If you want to see an archive of the old shows, just go to YouTube. We have about 300 hours of Cannabis Common Sense, roughly over 50% of our total show base. We're closing in now on show 580, and we'll be at show 600 here by the summertime. So we keep doing a show most every week, about 45 new shows a year, and keep adding to that, and they're closing in on show 600 right now.
Well, is there any reason why we can't find it in Milwaukee?
You should be able to watch it on cable channel 11. You have to have the cable system to be able to watch it. It's through cable access on cable channel 11 in Milwaukee. If you don't have cable, though, you can watch it on Ustream.
Well, a buddy of mine has the digital channels only. So it's like,
oh, yeah. It's not digital. I think it's analog.
Yeah. And how about Vancouver?
Vancouver, it plays on Saturday night at 8 o'clock.
Saturday night on 8 o'clock. You know what
channel
that's
a repeat, of course, if you want to watch it live. It used to be live in Vancouver, too, but about 3 years ago, they cut that area off from the local cable access network.
Well, you know the channel there in Vancouver? Because I can't find CAN on his...
yeah, they canceled the cable access network back about 3 years ago. We send them DVDs, and they replay those a few weeks late.
What channel would that be on?
Oh, gee, you know, I can't answer that question. I wish I could, but I can't say it off the top of my head.
So it'd be at 8 o'clock Saturday on a public access channel.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, great, guys. Thanks
All right,
again.
well, thanks
Have
for your phone call.
Great weekend. Bye-bye.
Kathy, is there anything you'd like to say in closing here?
Well, I just well, thank you for having me on the show.
Thank you, and thank you for your great work in Spokane. Kathy here
to be working for the Chiefs,
volunteered for a number of years at our clinics there until we finally opened an office, and we're proud.
Close to 5 years I volunteered. So
we're proud to now have you on as our office manager.
Well, I'm proud to
there.
be representing Spokane. So.
And I want to thank you viewers out there. We've down to just about 3 minutes, and so if you are a loved one or someone you know is looking for a doctor who can help get medical marijuana, then we have doctors all across the United States that can help you. If you need to find a doctor, you can call our referral service at 503-235-4606 here in Portland. That's 503-235-4606. If you're outside the Portland area, you can call us at 1-800-723-0188. That's 1-800-723-0188. Again, we're about to launch our drive to completely legalize marijuana and restore industrial hemp, and we'd like to see you come out and get involved in that. Just go to that website, cannabistaxact.org, and fill out the volunteer form. We'll be contacting you and sending you out petitions, which will be out on the streets later this month. We want to thank you for watching. Tune in next week and help us restore hemp. Good night. Here's Tim Payton.